So the higher you go up, the less decisions that you make.
The first thing to look for in a quality of leaders is the aspiration to lead.
How do we cultivate that culture of growth, even when people don't really want to?
Dr. Cloud and Dr. Townsend say, do I have the ability to show up for what's needed in reality? Like that type of character. Leader is growing. Everybody else is going to grow. And when it's going good for the leader, it's going to go good for other people.
Hey, welcome to the Relevant Development Podcast. I am your host, Juan Alvarado. With me today is John Kidwell. John Kidwell is the founder and leader of Leadwell, a leadership development company on a mission to equip and empower leaders so they can succeed at their own life's mission. They support leaders and their organizations through coaching, training, and team building and speaking. We can get into John's resume, if you will, but I'll let him speak on this. But working with a company such as Apple, Nike, MD Anderson Cancer Center, Pfizer, the University of Houston, and the YMCA of the USA. So welcome, everyone. John Kidwell. How you doing, John?
I'm doing really well, Juan. Thank you so much for having me on the podcast. It's an honor, man.
I got excited when your people reached out, because the first thing I saw, if I'm being honest, was one, the book, two, what you do. But because I have a lot of background with youth development and staff for youth development, the YMCA part kind of got my attention. So walk us through kind of your growth journey in the different positions that you've had in the different organizations.
Yeah, this sounds great. So I mean, if we go back to the why and some of that and the whole youth development space, I started with why when I was 17 years old, and I worked with
Wow.
kiddos in day camp and doing all that. I continued with the why through college, and then when I graduated college, I actually went professionally to be a teacher. And the
Oh,
plan
okay.
was to teach. The plan was to become a principal because, listen, my grandpa was a principal. My great grandpa was a principal. My uncle was a principal. My mom was a special ed teacher for 30 years, who then was an administrator. Like, I was supposed to be a principal, right? And so that was the plan until I felt a massive shift otherwise. And the thing that had been there all along, kind of under the surface, was the why. And I felt the shift to say, I didn't think I could make an impact and do what I was hoping to do in education. I just didn't see a path for that. I saw a path in the why. And I also saw something that I get to do it for a tremendous cause, being able to build community, help kids, help people be fit and well, find a place where they can belong, but kind of also test some of this leadership desire stuff that I had and the business acumen. Because yes, they are a not-for-profit. Yes, they fundraise. Yes, to all of those things. They also have a tremendous business model inside of it with membership and childcare and all of those things. So for me, it was like, I get a cool purpose. I get to be a leader, and I get to start doing some of this business stuff. And so I go join the Y at a local Y in Houston, Texas as a program director. And I figure out that I have a knack for leading people. I shouldn't say I figured out. I should say I got to test out and figure, and then kind of, okay, I do have this. I thought I did, but it is a thing for leading, building teams, being able to organize people and solve fairly hairy financial situations. And so my thing was, go work with people, do the financial turnaround. And that was kind of the path that I had to continuously earn more responsibility inside of the organization. So I went there, and in 6 years, I had 7 promotions. And I went from a director of a program to vice president of innovation and operations, and led like 1,100 people, so full-time, part-time. It was awesome. And so a tremendous amount of learning, a tremendous amount of responsibility, and also just being able to figure out all of these different ways that we can build teams, that we can coach folks, that we can lead people, and also different models and mechanisms for being able to provide a service, charge money, raise money, whatever it might be, to try to serve the needs of the community. And so that was kind of my road and journey through the Y. And then as I exited from the Y and left there, it was like, what next? Because I wasn't just the youth development guy. I'm not a teacher, but I really love to teach. But I really like leadership. I really like building teams. I really like some of the business side of it. And so finally just came back after a journey of trying to figure out what it was going to be, to say, with my wife sitting and having coffee, tears coming. She's like, what do you want to do? Right? I want to help leaders be better leaders. She's like, that's something. Go figure it out. And so that's what we've been doing ever since we started, is figuring it out.
Yeah, very cool. Where do you think that comes from, as far as you wanting to help leaders become better leaders? Like, do you track that or attribute to that to something that happened through you, with you, to you when you were younger, or where does that come about?
Yeah. To answer all of those, yes, right? I think I can think back to not with the why, but outside organization. My very first, I won't even say leader, I'll say boss, but my very first boss was like, it was just a stereotypical, like, we're all part time. And there was a definite distance gap between those that were inside the organization and those that were kind of seasonally helping out with the organization. Go beyond that, Terry sat in a desk behind this thing up on a pedestal. Like, you want to think of every single stereotype that kind of separates bosses from leaders, like
Right.
corner office, all this type of stuff. It's like, this was Terry. And it wasn't bad. Like, it's not woo and all that. But at the same time, it's like, there's something here that this could be done different. Like,
Hmm.
I actually don't know if Terry ever knew my name. Couldn't tell
Hmm.
you. Right. There's a different way that we could have gone. And I think I worked there a year. And it's not like there's that many of us. But anyways, all of that to say, yeah, there's some of those things and where we all have bad bosses that kind of, nurture how we see that in some of those. Oh, I'm never going to do it like that. If I get an opportunity to lead a team, I'm
Right.
never going to go like that. Right. But on the flip side, I have so many positive mentors from teachers,
Mm.
from athletic coaches, from executive coaches, from leaders that I've had in school, in the Y, elsewhere, that it's like that needs to be replicated. And help leaders be better leaders, because here's the thing. I think leaders have tremendous influence over people's lives. Our
For sure.
decisions can change the trajectory of someone's life.
Oh, for
Good
sure.
good decisions, kind of good inputs into them, feedback that builds up instead of tears down, decisions about if we're going to change a business or a product line, wind something down, start something up, people's employment. And there's a responsibility to that. And so helping leaders be the absolute strongest, the absolute best, being critical thinkers, decision makers, kind of having the heart and the mind employed in the right direction. Most of the time when I engage with leaders, it's like, that's what they want to do. And it's, how do I work that out? Right.
Right.
Helping them be able to do that, to me, is like one lever that has 10 different amplifiers. Working with leaders means that leaders carry things forward. And when the leader is growing, everybody else is going to grow. And when it's
Mm.
going good for the leader, it's going to go good for other people. So if we can do that, I actually see it as the path to helping the most people.
Yeah, that's powerful. I know that it was told to me, and I probably say this on every podcast order that I'm talking to somebody that has where there's a connection in what they do and why they do it. Is there's a gentleman by the name of Rory Vaden. He says you're best positioned to be the person who you once were.
Hmm.
Or to lead the person that you once were. So I find myself trying to help those in leadership because the people that were in leadership in front of me that should have been there for me weren't. And
Yeah.
so, you get burnt by so many different leaders. And in my story, it's, parents or the police department or teachers or principals or whatever. And it's like, now I get to speak to those individuals to help them in their leadership. And so
Yeah.
it's just a question because I really truly believe that, and we talked about this a little bit offline, was that you help organization stuff with that whole alignment piece. And I really think that when a leader and an organization have that common piece of alignment, this is
Yeah.
where I am, this is where we want to go, and here's my team. How do I utilize my team so they know where they are in this journey? They know how they are affecting this journey and the value that they bring. And I think a lot of times we have people who just go to work
Yeah.
and they have no idea if, like you just said, if their boss even knows their name, or if their boss does know their name, do they even know what I do? Because it's changed since the last time they were in my position, because they used to be in my position years and years ago, and they're so disconnected. They don't understand how much work has now piled up, how many more clients or people we have, and things have changed. And they think, well, what's the matter? I've done it before. And so when a leader is disconnected from that piece, I think people like yourself are great to come into these organizations to kind of bring back that foundational piece of, let's be servant leaders. And I see that as a foundational piece, but I don't know that every leader starts there. What do you think?
Yeah, it's a great thought. And so where my brain is going first is like snaps, right? Everybody listening, I'm sure, is like, woo, it snaps to what you were saying, Juan, is like, yeah, preach it. And I think that we naturally go where we're gifted and talented. It's usually the
Mm,
path of least resistance. And
right.
so I think there's that. And I also think that we sometimes get hyper focused in a specific area. And so as you were talking, I was thinking about the model that, honestly, for me, and then I ended up putting it in the book, is one of the things that we think about, because you use the word disconnected so often. And
Hmm.
disconnected leaders, disconnected executives, I find, one, because I found it in myself first, but two, also because of the people that we work with usually have an extremely high kind of character, personal values, morals, kind of business ethics, just you do things the right way, this way, da, 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 da. And they usually have a very, very high achieving mindset and skills. Like they got the skills to pull it off. And so because of those two things, they're usually a little distant on the relationship, which is what then feeds the disconnection. It's kind of awkward for me to connect with folks. And so I don't. And so then now I'm further disconnected from the people. So I lean into what I'm really, really good at, right? Doing things the right way and getting stuff done. But I might disconnect myself from the people. And so it's one of the things that we think about and talk through is this, how do we align, going back to your thing, how do we align even closer our character, not just our values, but like, do I have the ability, as Dr. Cloud and Dr. Townsend say, do I have the ability to show up for what's needed in reality? Like that type of character. Then do I have the relationships that are mutually beneficial, where they're win-win, where I want the best for you, Juan, right? Just like I want the best for Terry and I would want Terry to want the best for me. Do we have that type of relationship? And then do I get to do all of the skills, bring what I have, whether it's casting vision, communication, my ability to discern things, my ability to play into my expertise, whether it's IT or marketing or youth development, whatever that might be. But how can we continue to bring these things more closely aligned so that I am integrated and then show up as an integrated whole leader instead of a compartmentalized leader, where I found for myself, right? I was a high character person. I tell you, I know the right way to do things. I place a tremendous amount of pressure on myself to do things a certain way. And I was really good, like I told you earlier, at solving some financial things. The more I lean into those and forget about, oh yeah, like it's really all about the people, I could totally get disconnected and start driving super fast and run over people in the process. But if I can pull character, relationship, and skills together and align those, I can show up as whole. And if I'm aligned, I can more effectively align teams and align where we're going.
Right. Yeah. Do you find that there's I don't know if I want to say the word gap, but do you find a spot where leaders are in a spot where they don't need to have relationships as maybe the people right below them? But I'm thinking like presidents, VPs, those corner offices we were talking about, a little bit ago, where they have to have relationships with the management team. And that's about as far as it goes, because if they go any further, then they might start to micromanage, or they want to know more. Because this is what brings this up. Somebody had said, and I was like, ooh, I really like this thought process. He says, the higher that you go up, the less decisions that you should be making. He was like, Steve Jobs wasn't talking to the people about what apps it should have and what little microchips it should use and stuff. Like, there's people to do that. Yeah. What buttons like, that's not what he's doing. He's like, where are we marketing? How are we doing it? Like, he has questions for that leadership staff, but he doesn't go to like the production room, right? So the higher you go up, the less decisions that you make, the least amount of the least amount of maybe relationships. Like, you still have relationship with those people, but there's going to be some people that are up there that are like, I don't have time for that. Yeah. So then how do the employees have relationships or feel valued? Does it come from that middle management piece? And so now we're pouring into more middle management, or is it like, no, big boss man, you need to do it too. You need to lead by example, because how are your middle management going to do that? Like, where does it seems like the relationships slow down a bit, if you will?
Sure.
So how do we keep that kind of going?
Great question. I'm going to come back around to a really, really practical couple of ways that we can do it. Yeah. But I think there's a couple of things there that we probably got to pull on first. And so one is, I heard something early on in what you were saying, that do they not need them? And so that triggered for me this idea that there's a concept out there that it's lonely at the top, right? And we've all heard it. We've all said it. And I would say that we've gotten it wrong up until this point, that it's lonely at the top. And we tell ourselves, that means I don't get people. And I would say that, no, it's lonely at the top. So you actually need people even more. Right. And what we confuse is that the loneliness at the top is the responsibility that leader carries, the responsibility for the other people, for the organization. And because that responsibility is heavier, the higher you go. And I don't care if you're a team leader, if you're a middle manager, if you're a business owner, chief executive, whatever it might be, you feel a level of it's lonely at the top for the team that you lead. And so you need your people. Now, where I would turn it around in relationship is, Oh yeah, it's a slippery slope getting involved in everybody because might want to get involved. So how can you actually build a non-work relationship with people that are at work and be friendly? And
Right.
not saying you got to go to the happy hours and have drinks and invite everybody over to your house, but practically, what does it look like for you to make sure that you are still connected with people, that you are engaging with folks where you are? You and I both know, right? Like I'm not going to have the same level of relationship with my closest 5 friends as I am with the 150 people that might be around me.
Right.
But it does not mean that I still cannot want what's best for them in a win-win. Like I want you to succeed here. I want you to succeed outside of here. It
Right.
doesn't mean if we're not sitting at lunch together, which is I mean, just go sit at lunch with people, right? Like
Right.
go chill where they're hanging out or go into the break room, wherever it might be, and do the old 1 minute manager, just management by walking around, right?
Right.
And just
Right.
that type of relationship is going to give you so many insights about the culture of your organization, around what your employees, your team members, we call them team members, what your team members are talking about, what they care about, what's going on in their life. And all of a sudden, those experiences kind of have two things that either happen. Usually, you either kind of shut stuff off, it kind of walls off to you, or because you have those experiences, you have a deeper level of empathy that you might be able to have
Yeah.
with those folks. And so I would say, practically, relationship, do you need to get rid of the corner office and go sit out in a completely wallless, I don't
Right.
know.
Yeah.
Anytime we try to fix it with a thing, it's probably because
Right.
we're avoiding the real thing. So
Right.
what do you need to do? You need to go talk to people. You need to go sit
Right.
at lunch and have your peanut butter and jelly sandwich or your leftover pizza or whatever you got from the
Right.
cafeteria and be like, Juan, man, how's today going? What's going on with your kid? I know you walk him to school every day,
Right.
man. Like, how's he
Right.
doing? Right? Like, what that type of relationship will keep me from being disconnected
Right. And do it
and being
regularly, right? Like,
regularly.
because my next thing is like, how do you stop it from sounding fake? Because people will be able to see right through you, like, oh, you're just doing this to collect data or to check the box and, help out with culture. And like some people just seem, or I don't like to talk to people, or just it's weird that the boss is sitting at the table, right? It's like your teacher trying to, or the cool dad, right? What's up, boys? How's it hanging? They're like, Dad,
Yeah.
nobody says that anymore. And like trying to be too good. So I would think, so it doesn't seem forced,
Yeah.
to do it regularly, but to be authentic.
Yeah. I was just in a hotel the other day, which I said, oh, this was totally a young professional hotel. And I text my team and I was like, don't get me wrong. I love the hotel. It's super nice. We could stay here again as often as we want to. I am totally the dad who is wearing dad jeans, and I miss this like brand persona by like 10 years, right? Which is awesome. But you want to talk about being authentic, then like just go into that space as you. Like if you are the
Yeah.
awkward, cool dad, that's not cool. Like,
Yeah.
so what? Who
Yeah.
cares at the end
Just
of
be
the day,
you.
right? Just go in there and be you and show that you are making an effort. I think that is
Yeah.
one of the things. And as you said, if I go in and make an effort one time, or if I go in and make an effort and then turn around and be like, here's what I learned, like then your actions are showing exactly what your intent was.
Yeah.
But if
Weird.
if you do it over and over and over again, and all of a sudden they're just like, yeah, I mean, it was weird the first like 6 times Juan did it, but he does it every day. He just keeps showing up and just keeps asking about
Right.
my kids, and he just keeps asking
Yeah.
about like, hey, do you feel like you have a path to grow here? I
Right.
do. Yeah, he keeps asking me these things, and then all of a
Right.
sudden they're like, that's because he really wants to know, because he
Right.
really does care about the people here.
It answers their doubt, right? Oh, they're
Yeah,
just doing that, and it causes doubt or maybe confusion. After a while, it's like, well, oh, shoot, maybe they are real. And then when you start to see it,
yeah,
yeah, it's consistency, right? But
yeah.
doing it authentically and showing up every day, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and wear
Where
your
do you
awkward dad jeans or mom
Yeah,
jeans,
yeah,
whatever it is,
yeah,
like, who cares?
right,
I know
right.
that that's me. I can't go back.
Yeah, right, right. Where do you see, because I know, so I've had 3 different, like, I would just say pivotal points in my
Mhm,
leadership growth. I learned leadership, started to learn and take everything John Maxwell, and I was like, "Okay, I know how to be a really good leader," right? And then something clicked in me, and it could be maturity, it could be age. Maybe it was the books that I was reading, the people I was hanging out with, but I got into this servanthood, right?
mhm,
And totally leveled up my leadership of like, don't just be in front. Don't just say, hey, I know what the hell I'm talking about. So
mm,
follow me and my experiences and, help people out and grow people. But then it was like, I want to get out from behind my desk and I want to I want to serve. Like, what do you need? Like, how can I help you? How can I help serve you? And so then I really got this turnaround with my staff, and even in my training and my coaching, I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm loving this new me. The next part of it for me was turning that servant leadership and studying how to be a steward, right?
Mm.
So how do I steward my position? So instead of being a servant leader, how do I be a good steward of people? And so that's elevate. I thought the elevation from leader to servant leader was big. This was
Yeah.
even more of a bigger jump.
You
How
know
does
what
one level up?
yeah. So to level up, you have to give up.
Ooh, say that again. I got chills. Seriously, got chills in the back of my head. Say that again.
To level up, you must give up.
Mm.
And Juan, you gave up something in each of those. You and I
Mhm.
could sit here and I could investigate and we could pull in what was the specific experience, what was something there.
Mhm.
And now you and I both know we're not talking about like giving up and throwing your hands in the air, but you gave up
Right.
something, right?
Yeah.
And so just listening to your story, which was a great story, something that I might throw in there as a speculative possibility is you gave up the fact that it had to be about you.
Mhm.
Level 1, right? Level 2, you gave up the fact that this position means I get something and instead there's an opportunity to do through
Mhm.
what I am doing and not just have
Mm.
all of it come to me.
So
And so I think that there's those iterative pieces that we couple it with. You probably had a very specific experience. Could have been a crisis. It could have been a massive piece of feedback. I know that it's been some of the greatest gifts to me, crises and feedback. And usually they reveal something and you get to choose. Like, am I going to give up the thing that's holding me back and holding us back so that we can continue to go? And so to level up, you must give up. And here are 4 things. We put them at the very end of the book that really amplify servant leadership, like you just said, into stewardship.
Mhm.
4 things that get in the way of that. We tie them all under our personal standing. If a leader is willing to give up some of their personal standing, the possibilities are endless. And 4 key ones. Number 1, pride.
Yeah.
Has to be put to death. The only one that has to be completely given up. The more that pride is given up, the more that everything else can go up. The mission, the people, the service, the stewardship. And then beyond that, we encourage folks to look at how do I share? How do I use the platform that I have to share with others? That it's a through, not to mentality. And the power that I have, can I share power responsibly? Like you said, I go up, I make less decisions. That means I'm giving power, I'm
Right.
empowering others. So, power, my position. If I have an elevated position, what am I using it for? If I have a platform, what am I trying to do through this platform? What mission am I trying to advance? What message am I trying to share? And then my possessions, internal, external to the organization. If I look at everything that I have as something to be stewarded, a resource, a tool, a something to be leveraged, and I can share those in the organization, out of the organization to whatever goal I'm going towards. If I'm willing to give up some of those things and share some of those things, I might be able to amplify the people that I work with. I might be able to move our organization faster. I might be able to involve organizations that do adjacent work where we can collaborate. I might be able to return more to my community than I ever thought possible.
So good. I love that. And to apply this stuff and kind of answer the question or the thought of my leveling up, it was feedback for the first one, right?
Mm. Mhm.
I had a really good evals, and I had one that was bad, and it wrecked me. And everyone's like, "Bro, you had like 199 really good evals. You had one that was bad, let it go." I'm like, "I can't. Like, I want to
Yeah.
know what I did wrong. Like, how can I make this better?" And that's when I found Gallup Strengths, and I started doing that whole thing. And then the servant leadership one was I had to give up myself. Like the position, I felt like I was doing it. Like I did the job.
Yeah.
I did it. It was me. It was all me.
Yeah.
I helped I helped this person. I helped this person. Like I did it. And from a spiritual standpoint, I grew up and I'm a person of faith. I had somebody say, because I left the organization, they said, God had to strip you from everything because you were patting yourself on the back and you never leaned in on him.
Yeah.
And it
Mm.
was
It's
like,
powerful.
you built yourself up, and God said, if you want to go to the next level, you need to lean in on me. I've given you a gift, but here's your potential, and your gift will never reach the potential without me. And I was like,
Yeah.
yo. And so it was like, okay, I just need to give. I just
Yeah.
need to, and I gave up. So when you said that, I think that's why, the chills on my back, because it just spoke to me. I think anyone listening to this is going to think that same thing of like, I need to give something up, or I need feedback, or I need something. But that's how I, need to level up, especially those
Yeah.
people who want to and need to. How do you know when I don't want to say when somebody's ready to lead. I have somebody on my queue on the whole pod match thing, and he said, I want to talk to you about leadership and how it's in everybody's DNA, how everyone is a leader. And I started to think, that's a good conversation, because
Yeah.
I don't believe that that's true.
Yeah.
I think everyone's a leader of themselves, lead yourself, your work and stuff like that. But to lead people, I don't know if everyone is in the space to lead people.
Yeah. I don't know if
So
they want to. Like,
right,
not
and
everybody
that's
wants to, right?
right. And that's the thing, is like, because I've
Yeah.
made one of my biggest mistakes was this person's really good at their job, like
Yeah.
super good at their job. And this is my mistake. Give them more responsibility, give them more
Yeah.
pay, but we don't necessarily need to move them up in front of people.
Yeah, right.
And
The best salespeople are not always the best sales leaders.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so it was horrible. I was like, oh my gosh, what did I do? We're so deep into this. And that's one of the people who ended up giving me my bad eval. I was trying to coach them
Mm,
and help them, and they're like, no, I know what I'm doing, blah blah blah. And so I was like, no, you're not good at what you do. Like, people are leaving because of you. Like, we need to fix this. But like, not everyone is necessarily quote unquote born to lead or to lead people. So I want to get that idea,
yeah.
mix it with we have an open position. We need to bring somebody up into this new position, a leadership position. And it
Mhm.
seems as if a lot of organizations will go and, hey, there's Mike or Sarah. They've been with us for 15 years. They're next on the totem pole. They're next on that level. But you might have other people like, but that's not the reason why you should level somebody up, because of their
Yeah.
tenure there.
Yeah.
How does a leader find the next leader?
So you said, right, you grew up in individual faith and had some of that background. And
Mhm.
so in the Bible, it tells us that the first thing to look for in a quality of leaders is the aspiration to lead.
Mm.
So they gotta want to do it. Like
Right,
that is
right,
number one. Like, do you
right.
want to do this thing? Because as we've said earlier in this conversation, there's a tremendous amount of responsibility. It
Mhm,
ain't for everybody. Sometimes you're going to be in the spotlight. Can you handle that? Both in terms of,
mhm.
do you want it to be about you, or can you take all the flack that might come? Right. So
Yeah.
it's a both and for those, but number one, aspire to lead. I think second to that, I'm totally going off of inside of the organization, because I heard you say that twice. So inside of the organization, are they already leading without the title? If they
Mm.
are, they're probably primed to be ready to do it,
Yeah.
right? Do they have the influence of the people? Does everybody already think like, oh yeah, totally up, like next is Juan, like I'll follow him,
Right,
right? He's already earned, she's already earned the influence. They're already
right,
leading where they are. So aspiration plus kind of proof of concept, if you will, that they're already
right.
doing it. And
Mhm.
then back to what you said, we have an open position. I think there has to be a professional need that aligns with a personal development goal. Hey,
Mm.
we have a need in this area of the business. We need you to go into medical device. We need you to turn it around. Is this the thing that you want to do? Do you see this as part of, if these two things, like professional need and personal development growth plan, that they can see whatever their growth plan is, that, yeah, this could be, even if it's a zigzag, this could be a path for me as I continue to move towards the work, the responsibility, the success, the level, whatever it is that I want to achieve. It's a both and there, right? If
Mhm.
I just say,
Yeah.
I need you to move all the way across the country and go do this thing for me, you might have me for a minute, or you better pay me a whole lot of money, but I'm probably not going to do it unless I'm also invested in it. So
Right.
I think those couple of things, the aspiration, the evidence, and the alignment, are going to be the things I would look for.
That's good. That's really good. How do we get those people who are stuck in their ways? I'm a big hater of the saying, this is how we've always done it, right? I've heard, sweetie, I've been doing this longer than you've been born and before you were in diapers and all this other stuff. There's that veteran, in Spanish we call it that veterano, right? That veteran, that person who's been there for a while, a
Yeah.
long while. They're not going anywhere. What There's got to be something that sinks into the person that says, like, your way was good but not anymore, especially with the Gen
Mm.
Z coming up and this different generation of people and what they want, boss versus a leader. And I'm not looking for a 401k. I'm looking for, pay my school debt or get me a
Mm.
babysitter, or there's different needs and wants compared to what it was
Yeah.
before. So how do you get this old school logic or this old school person to say, I've always been a leader. I've been a leader for 40 years, but now I need to shift to this stewardship or the servanthood kind of leader.
Yeah.
How do we shift somebody who's kind of in their ways?
What was the Spanish word for veteran?
Veterano.
Veterano,
Yeah.
adios. No, I'm just kidding. That's not the first thing that we're going to do, but it might be the last thing that comes up, right? Like
Yeah.
it might, but that absolutely not the first way. And I think for all of us as leaders, that when in doubt, over communicate, especially if there's some sort of intention there. That is one area we can never go overboard on, is communication. It is like oxygen to the organization. And so if we want a thing that is continuously changing, staying relevant, right? Whatever that might be, say it and say it so much that everybody starts to internalize it and build it into cute little things like the status quo has got to go. You better know that I didn't just make that up right now. Like I'm a huge believer in status quo's got to go. Like just because we did something doesn't mean we should keep doing something.
Right.
So, but you got to say it over and over and over again. I think the other thing, this is more of a, how do I connect with that individual? Because the veterano, see, I'm messing
Veterano.
up the
Yeah.
veterano, right? Like
Yeah.
it's a person. It's a person first.
I love it.
They have experience. They have a tremendous amount of wisdom, discernment, experience that they can offer. And most likely they're afraid. They're feeling boxed out. They're feeling like perhaps I don't see a future for myself here because all this
Right.
stuff over here is changing. And so outside of my joke, adios, right? What I really want to do is I want to over communicate and then I want to connect with that individual. And I want to make sure that some of the things that aren't changing. And so we say principles don't change, practices do. Who we are, how we are, like that's not going to change. But if yours was the 401k and now it is student loan repayment, like it's the same principle. Be good to people, compensate them, put it as a part of the package, but we're just changing the way that we're doing it. Right. And so I want to connect with them to learn about some of the things that are mainstays that aren't going to stay, but then also encourage and remind that we're not changing everything and we're not changing the why and the way and some of the how. We're just changing the what's because they're not effective anymore. So principles don't change, practices do. And I think if we start to couple those things, it's helpful, right? It's helpful to involve folks. It's helpful to lean on them. It's helpful to over communicate and bring them in. And sadly, at some point, right, in a mission driven, even a people always type of way, this is what we're doing. And mi amor, I love you. And you got to go somewhere else, right? Like at some point it might become to that, but that's a last ditch effort. The first one is communicate, connect with the people, remind them that we don't change the principles, but we are going to change the practices often.
Right. For sure. Yeah. It's almost like sports, right? Hey, you're a really good player. You just don't fit with the organization. Like you would be amazing somewhere else. I'm a big Dodgers fan, right? Growing up in LA, and one of the biggest trades or that happened where I'm like, oh my gosh, he was so good for the culture, and the bench was Kike Hernandez. He got traded to the Boston Red Sox. We got him back, but it was one of those things like he's not going to be an everyday player here. And we are doing him a disservice if we keep him here. Over there, he'll be an everyday player. And so it's almost like in sports of, hey, if you have employees or managers or whatever that are good, but they're not hacking it. If they're really good, they'll find something somewhere else. They'll get it. But I love the fact that you brought it all the way back to from the very beginning, and everything that you've spoken about so far has been like the humanistic side of things, like the people first. They're saying it's like there's policies and procedures, but who's going to execute those? People. So people come first, right? And I just love that you made something that was a tough question and a serious subject so practical in over communicate, and that person is a person first. I love that, and I don't understand why. I think this is the part where it gets me excited to continue to read or find mentors or new mentors. Is how come not everyone thinks this way? It's always
because there's so much evidence to the contrary on what is successful, right? And it's hard. Like, let's be real. Like what I just laid out there takes way more time than just saying, you need to get on board with this or else we're just moving on without you. Right? Like, so there's evidence to, these big name companies that just pay out the wazoo have brought people in, let people go, done all these things. And like, there's a certain success that comes with that. Like we see these things, right? And so we think that that's part of the path. I'd also say that, and I outline it in the book, I'm deciding if we need to go there, but we do, that the way that we define leadership is structurally wrong. We talk about commanding a group, and the word command, like that bothers us about leaders all the time, right? And then another way that we define it is by the position. And again, how many of us love a leader who says, do this because this is the position I have? Like we're built it on these type of foundational definitions, and they're going to influence how we show up. And you take that foundation plus some of the evidence, plus the fact that what you and I just talked about was playing the long game, right? And it
Right.
might be the most appropriate game, but it's more emotional work. It's just longer work. But if you look at organizations, and I take it all the way back to one of the ones that I highlight in the book with Barnhart, Crane, and Rigging, if you look at playing the long game and bringing together people, purpose, profit, all of this stuff, they've grown that organization to a $600 million organization founded on some core principles like servant leadership, like quality excellence, like purpose and profits, and bringing these things together. 98% CEO approval rating.
Wow.
10-year, almost 3 times the national average of people that stay with that organization. And it's in the construction space, so they have pretty high turnover anyways, but 3 times the national average for the median, right? They're in like the 6 point something, 7 point somethings for 10-year median, kind of all of it's going there. And then you take it and you look at what they do outside of the business. They give away half of their profits every single year.
Wow.
This year, it's likely that they're going to give away over $50 million.
Yo. Wow.
Yeah. That's like big time money. So it's
Yeah.
the long game, but that has paid dividends for everybody in that organization as well as everybody outside the organization.
Right. It's huge, just that the humanistic side of things, but it all comes back to like what's the end goal? What does success look like? I had somebody that I just talked to the other day was, what does success look like to you, and what does finished or what does done look like? And those two questions kind of just wowed me in the sense of, yeah, what does done look like? And what does success look like? Because two different things, but sometimes success to you, I shouldn't say sometimes, all the time, success to you is different than what success is to me. And sometimes some people are just like, I want to know that I'm valued here. People want to be appreciated and acknowledged. And that's that's free.
Yeah.
Like, why are we not doing that more? Yes, you can make somebody feel appreciated through, other things, but just acknowledgement is so huge. And when you're able to make more, you're able to give more in that sense. But I just love the whole kind of aspect of things that you stand for, that you live for, and that you teach. One of the questions, and we kind of went there a little bit with this, but I know reading some of the background you have inside the book, you give these experiences or other examples of other organizations and how they are doing servant leadership. What has been you can go one of two ways, either the best story that you put into your book as far as these different organizations that their success is really good, or one that maybe shocked you. Like, I've never seen this done before. Wow, that's really, really cool.
Yeah.
Like, out of your book, what is your favorite story?
So that Barnhart one is really one of my favorites. And it started because my wife and I were sitting at a Zoom meeting, like a marriage kind of counseling retreat type Zoom meeting, where they brought in these folks that nobody knows who they are, right? And they're like, you should come. It's the Barnharts. It's like, I don't know who the Barnharts are. But I know I want to do some of this stuff. Like, they got a good marriage and they're really focused on philanthropy. And I was like, I want both of those things, right? Like, those are good things. I want a good, healthy, strong marriage, and I want to be generous. So we'll go find out what these folks are all about. And I was just blown away, 100% blown away. It just layer after layer after layer of, they live on a fixed, modest income. The most humble, unassuming individuals I have ever met, giving away money that I was like, yeah, that's cool. They give away money. And then the year that we had this, that found out they gave away $35 million. And I like sat up and I was like, excuse me? Like, what?
Right here.
Yeah. I don't qualify. They give it inside of this thing called the 1040 window, and it's all around the world. Organizations that are focusing on spreading the gospel. And so they do that, right? And I was like, this is cool. And then I find out, like, all of these things, I'm like, that's cool, but like, there's no way he's also just this stud, like, business guy, right? Turns out he is. It turns out he's pretty amazing. And so what I saw in Alan and his wife, Catherine, in that organization is just this ability to really integrate purpose, people, profit, for a tremendous, tremendous outpour to the people they work with, to causes they care about, to their community. And so that one, it just like kept coming, right? Like, fixed income, modest, then how much they give away, then the fact that it's a $600 million organization, then to the fact that Alan and Catherine actually have given away, you want to talk about stewardship, they've given away all of their ownership to the business. They don't own any of it anymore. They are just trustees of that business. and it was all
Wow.
theirs. They gave it all away. So like that one,
Wow.
by far the most powerful. You got to read through it. One for the rest of us of like, okay, I can look at Alan and I can say that's where I'm going 35 years from now, right? Every
Mhm.
single one of us could do that. One like today is Ryan. He's a CEO client of ours, and Ryan was wrestling with the fact that there was some performance and quality pieces that he was at the place where he had to let somebody go. To align with the culture, to do what's right for the performance, and to make it fair to everybody else who's also doing work and has expectations to be met. It was time to let someone go. And the thing was the plan that they had worked through ended right after Thanksgiving. And he said, you just don't do that to people. Like you
Right.
don't let somebody go in between Thanksgiving and Christmas. And so he
Right.
and I talked about it, and it came down to he was going to do it. And I said, just out of curiosity, what's that going to cost you? Right. He could have let this person go and it'd cost him about 2 weeks of their salary, which wouldn't have been much. For him to choose to keep this person for 6 weeks, to inform this person, here's the time that you're going to exit the organization. I want you to continue to get paid to do a little bit of work, but I want you to go search. Use this time to go search. It cost him somewhere between a third and half of her salary, tens of thousands of dollars. No second guessing about that. And here's what it did for his organization.
Wow.
When somebody else needed something, people just stepped in and responded. When
Right.
they had a sick kid, like really sick, like accident sick, out of work for days, people took care of them.
Right.
Employee retention up, employee engagement up. They have a small kind of mid-sized organization in 18 months in an industry that usually grows 3-5% and struggling after COVID. They've grown by 25% in 18 months.
Wow. Wow.
Like, it pays off.
Oh, for sure. It's an investment, and investments compound, right? And it's the same thing with, it's cliche, but the planting of a seed. You planted a seed in someone and it's going to come back to you. That seed is going to turn into a tree that's going to provide fruit, and that fruit is going to provide more. It's what's bigger at the end of the day, the problem or the person, right? And people are going to want to work for you. People are going to want invest that time with you. I know you said, you used the word command, right? We have learned that leadership is to have this command. I like to think of comms or communication, right? In the military, that's what you call comms. And you're going to communicate really well. And what? That's what you're going to do. As a leader, I want you to communicate and whatever that other person needs.
Wow, that's good.
That's what, to be in command. I'm in charge. I'm going to over communicate with you. I'm going to love on you. I'm going to make sure that we grow you and whatever else you need. And I'll make sure that happens.
That's good, Juan.
And as soon as you said command, I just felt that word of like, this is what we need to define command in now. Not just to take charge, but to take the charge. I mean, even that word, I'm feeling this of, when you say take the charge in basketball, take the charge, you allow that impact to hit you.
Yeah.
Right. If I'm going to lead, you like a parent, right? You're going to harm my kid. You got to go through dad first.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. You better believe it.
We're going to take the charge, right?
Yeah.
We're leading ahead, and we're going to take that blunt force trauma, if you will, but we're going to lead the way so the other people don't have to. Man, I could talk to you for hours. I want to value your time. I would love to have you on again in the future to talk about some other things, because one thing that I would love to get into even more, and I don't know that we necessarily have the time, but like, how does one, or what has to happen for one to want to level up? Because we could read, right? We can read all we want. We can go to seminars, but at the end of the day, it's tough, right? We have to work with Sharon or Bob, who just get under our skin. Like, freaking A, they're here again. It's almost like in the teaching world. My dad was a teacher for so many years, and you learn working with youth is like, every kid misses a day except those 2 or 3 kids that just get under your skin. They show up every single day, and it's like, sometimes they're there for you more than you are for them. Like, they're there to teach you something, but I just want to get into like, how do we get into the spirit of growth? Maybe next time a little bit more, because it's tough. It took me, years to go from leadership to servanthood and then to stewardship, but there just seems like there's people who are built for it and there's other people who aren't. But it's not that they're not built for it. They might not be ready, but I don't know. It just seems like maturity and age goes a long way. Sometimes something has to happen for them to switch a little bit. But how do we cultivate that culture of growth, even when people don't really want to? Like, you're not going to get promoted, right? Other people don't need to lead, should lead, want to lead, right? They don't want to.
Yeah.
But how do we still grow them to make them just better at what they do? I would love to talk about that in the future. Maybe that's a teaser for our next conversation.
It's the biggest hook for everybody listening.
Yes.
I mean, it's Juan and John, right? Like you got
Yeah.
to come back and you got to hear us just go full tilt on something that we care a lot about, which is growth. So
We're
there
gonna
you
build
go.
another. We're gonna build. You have your own podcast. I have mine. We're gonna make a third podcast of
That's
Juan and
right.
John together.
That's
There we
right.
go.
There you go.
It's funny. The voice that you have is. I have a friend that's close to me, and we used to work together. And now every once in a while, I'll call him. Swear you guys have the same exact voice, but your heart is something that I admire and I love. Just in this conversation that we had prior to recording, and in this conversation. But if people say, "Hey, I've learned a lot. I want to bring John in to help me lead as one-on-one, or for my leadership staff, or for my leadership personnel, or for my staff," how can people get a hold of you?
Yeah, thank you, and thank you for this, and thank you for something you teased out, which is that you're a veteran. Thank you for that
Mm,
service. And if someone is thinking that we could help them, I would send them to leadwell.com, Leadwell, leadwell.com, and there's a bunch of different places that you could go and search for things. And a lot of the stories in the tie-in that Juan and I have been talking about, I share through kind of my personal journey. If you really want to get to know me, go buy the book, because it's really all of my struggles and some of my successes that really outline the redefining of servant leadership and taking you
mm,
through that same process. And that, just go to the title.com, redefineyourservantleadership.com. You'll find that. Those would be two great ways to plug in. And then if you're on social media, my John does not have an H. It's because you can't hear it, so I don't use it. Not really. It's just Jonathan is the full name, but JONKIDWELL, John Kidwell, and you can find me on LinkedIn, Instagram, and some other places.
awesome. And the book release date? When's
January
that?
17th, 2024, and you can pick it up.
Pick it up on the web
Sorry,
and
yeah.
Amazon? Yeah, no, you're good.
Yeah, right. January 17th, 2024, and you can pick it up on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, online, and if you go to our website, we will put in any other places that you are able to find it beyond those.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for just living your heart out loud and just loving on people. I love that. And putting yourself in a place to say, "Hey, I'm going to do this outside of my organization. I'm going to now do this on a broader level." Right. And yeah, thank you for being open enough and vulnerable to share your stories in your book, and then to be on the podcast as well, and to help all of us. Everyone, make sure that you go and go out and get that book January 17th. All the titles, links, and everything will be in the description and in the show notes. John, thank you so much for being here. And before we let you go, just to sign off, in always remember to go to the next level. And the only way you can get to that next level is if you raise that bar. Continue to raise that bar, and you can do so by reaching out to John. John, any last words?
Thank you, Juan, for keeping development relevant. I love the play on words. Thank you for today. And if you're going to raise the bar, just like Juan and I talked about earlier, to level up, you must give up. What's it going to be?
That's it. We will see you on the next episode. Thank you so much.